Welcome to the Co-Creator Collective.
Okay. It's happening.
It's happening. Our first podcast. Yes. I'm Mishka. Chronic breath.
Okay.
We got this?
We got this. We're ready.
Welcome to the Co-Creator Collective podcast. I'm Mishka.
And I'm Blythe.
And today we're going to be talking about breathwork. We start with the breath?
Let's start with the breath.
Okay.
Okay.
7 seconds.
Okay.
Activate the parasympathetic.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take a deep inhale. Exhale out our mouth. Okay, that's good. Should we do that again?
There it is.
Yeah.
Centered.
Here we are talking about the breath.
The breath.
So what just happened there in our bodies when we did that 7-second inhalation and exhalation?
Yeah, we activated the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, engaging the vagal brake as well, with that beautiful vagus nerve, and just slowed it down.
What's the vagal brake?
Well, we've got the vagus nerve, which runs from the brainstem all the way down through our throat, into our chest, and then all the way down into our organs. And it actually goes all the way to the cervix.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, so it actually can affect like orgasm.
Oh,
cervical
wow.
orgasm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess that's how you get like soundgasms then too. Yes.
Yes. And then it actually travels all the way up the
I
neck.
haven't yet. I'd like to explore this. Oh, I already have a confession.
This is a safe space.
Safe space.
And then the vagus nerve travels all the way up to the neck, and then it actually affects your facial muscles as well. So, and when we activate and we kind of slow down and we engage our parasympathetic, like we just did, we're activating our vagal brake. So we're kind of slowing down what was the nerves and the anxiety that we had starting this.
And excitement.
And excitement, absolutely, right? Yes. What is that? Fear is excitement without the breath.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, by just slowing it down, we're engaging the vagal brake, we're engaging our vagus nerve, and we're taking control back of our systems, which is this beautiful. We have this ability to communicate with this nerve once we tune into it, which is really cool.
Yes, I love that. And then like taking that deep exhalation, that sigh, we're kind of just like starting to like relax the body as well too, and like ground down and get in our bodies. Because so many of us breathe from our chest.
Yeah.
Our society of shallow chest breathers, just so much stress and anxiety, and keeping that breath short, we're not activating very well and connecting to those nerves and those lower levels, and then being able to bring the breath into our belly, connect to the diaphragm.
And that, like what you just said as well, like audible sigh. Like, you know, I feel like we're also just so scared to make sound.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, like breathing and like letting out sound. Because I think that can get trapped as well. So, just inviting sound in as well with the exhale.
I love that.
Yes.
How did you get into breathwork?
How did I get into breathwork?
What was your journey to breathwork?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. I feel like we've had similar kind of paths, which you'll speak to as well, with, you know, training for yoga. So I think the first time I experienced like breath work was through yoga practice and like Ujjayi breath, which if you practice yoga, you know, you're familiar with that. And that was like that first time that I was like, oh, there's something to this. Like there's like I can make a sound through the back of my throat, this like ocean sound, right? And yeah, it was probably my first like introduction, even though we breathe every day, and it's something that we all have access to, but
every single one of us breathe. I love when people say I can't do breath work.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing it right now.
It's literally what's keeping you alive. So, but yeah, no, and so that was the first time I think I was kind of like, oh, no, I don't want to say manipulating the breath, but like kind in a sense, like kind of, yeah, manipulating the breath in this way to cultivate more calm. So that was probably the first time I tapped into that. And yoga for me was a really beautiful way to manage my own anxiety and mental health. I remember I tell like a lot of my students in like the high school, you know, I was like, when I did this the first time, I wanted to walk out of the class because I was so anxious and like slowing down and being in my body and moving with intention when all I wanted to do was like get the hell out of there.
Go drink a glass of wine.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. And so yeah, that was kind of like the first time I would say that I realized, oh, breath work. And then throughout the years, through doing yoga and meditation training and all these different things, I felt like there was something missing. And then breath work was like popping up in all these programs, and it just felt like, oh, I want to like really learn the ins and outs of how to breathe in this deep way. And then I had experienced it twice before I did the teacher training program, and it was so transformative. It's like you go into this, and yes, there's like nerves, and it's a process, and your body's not used to breathing in this sort of way, but there's nothing else that I've ever done that has allowed me to feel such a shift after one session. Like, I've probably been close to that in my yoga practices, but like the breath is the portal, like the portal back to who we truly are. Yes. So,
I love that. Yeah. My teacher says that the breath is both the path and the guide.
And how did you get into breath work?
Yeah, similar to you. It's funny, we've actually never talked about this before. I was thinking about it when I was thinking of questions we could ask ourselves. I'm like, oh, I don't actually know how you started with breath work, so it was really nice to hear, and that we do have similar journeys. As well myself, it started with yoga and with pranayama. When I went to India, I guess like 7 or 8 years ago now. I was thinking about it earlier, and I can't remember. 7? Let's say 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. I was traveling with Ativan. I had like massive panic attacks. I could not leave my house without, those that don't know, it's an anxiety medicine. I couldn't leave my house. I was so scared to go to work without knowing that was there. And it wouldn't mean I'd have a panic attack every day, but I just didn't actually feel safe not having it on me in case that happened. And those familiar with panic attacks like know just how disabling they are and terrifying. So yeah, I was traveling with anxiety medication. I had no idea I would come home without them. I actually left them in India. But it was the pranayama, it was those deep practices and connection to breath that I'd never experienced before here. It was interesting that you were able to have that experience in a yoga class. I think I was still so dissociated and out of my body that even though I was breathing and like using that ujjayi and starting to deepen my breath, I don't even think I think below my throat was just not connected. Like I have absolutely no connection in my lower body, super out of body from just trauma. And yeah, it was during deep meditations, during pranayama, and these different techniques, like things as simple as like alternate nostril breathing, or what are some of the other ones too? Even like square breath, box breathing. Box breathing. Yeah. These techniques that I started to feel such a massive shift within my body. I started to connect to my body, allow I think my nervous system had just been such like a stressed state for so long, and then these practices, also being away, really ironically in India, I was able to relax. Yeah. And start to allow my body to like allow the parasympathetic to come back on board, to rest, through those practices. So yeah, that was where it began for me, and I had huge transformations, kind of like I said, being able to leave my anxiety medication, and I carried on that trip and traveled some more, and I've never had a prescription since that day, which I'm really grateful for, and it's, I think, because of like these practices and my meditation. But yeah, breath work, as far as like ceremony, like modern breath work, same, I entered my first workshop, trying to think, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, like not that long ago. And same thing, it was wild. I had a really like deep meditation practice at the time, so I went on a journey. Like I remember seeing a jaguar and like just feeling like this incredible presence and journey. And yeah, for me that first one was more, I find it was more of a journey than like, I didn't have so much as like physical experience within it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I had this really beautiful journey, and that's what sort of pulled me where I was like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah.
It was like similar to a plant medicine ceremony, except you walked away sober, you know, and you do it in 30 minutes to an hour, and you're in charge as well too. Like it's your breath. There's no other substance. It's your breath that takes you there. So yeah, I was pretty hooked. And then my next session, I started to get into more of the work.
Yeah.
I started to realize the work part of breath work, and what it can bring up, and the healing that can happen from that too, though. So yeah, it was a journey. But yeah, I got hooked in the altered state.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that about India and yeah, your journey there. That's well, that's a great way to segue into the topic of daily practice versus attending like a ceremony.
Yes.
And if you could speak maybe a bit about that.
Yeah, so daily practice is these tools, as we shared, alternate nostril, box or square breathing, different counts, Wim Hof, for those who are familiar with Wim Hof, you can do that as, you know, a quick daily practice in the morning or with your cold dip. And those are tools and techniques that I like to think of that you can use anywhere. Like I do left nostril breathing in the car when I'm stressed out. Or yeah, like the humming bee, if you're familiar with the humming bee breath. So these are things I see as like daily practices and tools to help us move through the day with more ease, with more grace, with breath, with less stress. And you know, as we touched on earlier, you spoke about like the vagus nerve, like when we're able to have a higher tone, our stress levels, like what we're able to handle and move through the day, we're not thrown off course as easily. So that's how I look at those like daily tools, daily practices. Yeah, just help us move through our day with ease and joy, less stress. And then ceremony is times where we can come together, and the coming together is so important that we honor and witness each other and hold space, and recognize that like when one heals, we all heal. And so in ceremony, when we're able to come together, I think really deep transformation can occur. Like I know we've heard from participants in ceremony saying like, oh, I'm so grateful you were there. Like I felt your support. I felt you there beside me. And so ceremony, that's where like deep transformation can happen. And we can go on these beautiful journeys, but then also healing. Just allowing yourself that time and space to do some really deep work. Like I know we've had people leave our ceremonies and not know that's what they were coming in for, and say like that was one of the most powerful things they've experienced or the most relaxed they've ever felt after a ceremony. So yeah, ceremony is time we carve out to come together for deep healing and integration. Yeah.
You know, the way it's been for the past little while with people, you know, spending so much time on their own or not together. I think there's also, I think what I've witnessed and felt is sometimes people don't even remember, which I know that sounds crazy, but like how important and how much better we feel when we're around the energy of other human beings, because, you know, the truth is we didn't come here to live separately in this individual sort of way. We thrive better in community. We thrive better, like, it's, you know, that's what that phrase, it takes a village, right? Like, we're not supposed to be doing this alone.
No. Yeah.
And even when I talk about this, I get chills in my entire body, because it's like, you know, even I'll just speak, you know, for my own mental health journey too, like all the times that I've isolated myself, right? And that we've been forced into that the past 2 years, right? And so even if you weren't, you know, necessarily someone who liked to be alone, maybe you kind of had to be in some sort of way. So yeah, it's just like this coming back together in the past couple weeks and months that we've been holding these ceremonies. It's just like this remembrance of like, this is how it's supposed to be. Like, this is actually what we're supposed to be doing all the time.
Yes.
So if we can, you know, host a ceremony once a month, like that's amazing, right? But like and so I just think that, yeah, honoring that makes us feel more alive.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Same with whole bodies, like, yes.
Full body, yes.
I know I've shared with you, so we can share with podcast. I saw us holding ceremony when I was in Tulum, when it was in a breathwork ceremony, and we've been friends, we worked together, but never like super close within like the close circle. And yeah, you had come to mind immediately. I knew I wanted to hold ceremony. I'd seen you from a distance, like really doing the work and showing up to service and showing up to hold space for breath and for this transformation. So yeah, I loved it. Like, you popped into mine right away, and we're both very passionate about holding ceremony space and coming together as community. Myself learning to, instead of isolating, like coming together, seeking your sisters, seeking your brothers, like I love, actually, our groups I found have been a mix of male and female quite equally, which is beautiful. So you're able to have that space and come together with both energies and just but I love that we've started these ceremonies.
Yeah, and like just quickly too, to just like kind of admit as well, like, you know, when we connected, when you got back from Tulum, I kind of said to you, I was like, I've had you in my mind for so, like, not to sound like a total creep, but like since I met you in 2016, I just like, and again, kind of watching each other's journeys, I've been like, me and Mishka are going to do something together at some point, and then fast forward to 2022, but 6 years later.
Thank you for planting the seeds of that manifestation.
But definitely like felt it, like, just always kind of had this feeling, and so it's really, I'm really grateful that we're doing it now, and there's so much goodness ahead for all the things that we're gonna do. So
we're coming up on our third workshop already, and this third one, honoring the nervous system, and I love too that I was like, should we? Yes. So each one of our workshops, we want to explore different themes. As a death doula, I'd like to explore like some more grief. Exploring anger with the breath, but this one in the nervous system, do you want to share something that you're excited about that's based on the nervous system this time around? I should add though, like all breath work, as we've shared, helps our nervous system and helps strengthen our nervous system and our co-regulation, but offering this one in particular for nervous system.
Breath work, when we're doing more intensified breath work, so more rigorous breath work, where we're really keeping that circular pattern of the inhales followed by the exhales, and we're really kind of going for it, for
keeping a solid rate,
keeping and like keeping a pace, right, and
reaching an altered state.
Exactly. And you reach, typically you can reach an altered state, but the key, I think, is the consistency with the breath, really. Like if you're going faster or if you're going slower, but typically if you're going with a bit more rigor, you'll drop in fast, like probably more quickly, right? So, but the thing with depending on the state of a person's nervous system, so if someone were to come into to breath work and say they were extremely dysregulated, like really out of sorts, and they were coming in, if their nervous system is already super dysregulated, a really rigorous type of breath work might not actually be the support they need that day.
Yes.
That's not to say that couldn't change tomorrow, but that's probably not what they need. And so this coming weekend at our next workshop, it's going to be kind of tapping more into a more consistent, slower relationship with the parasympathetic. So we're going to do a little bit of that sympathetic activation with the faster breath, but we're going to kind of sink more into that parasympathetic just to kind of give a different experience of breath work, because, you know, we're human beings and every day is a new day and we can feel different on different days. And so I know, you know, for myself too, like there's some days where I'm like, oh, it's slow and steady breaths today for me and my nervous system. And then other days I'm like, let's go to that altered state. Let's go to a different realm.
Break through, let's have our exorcism.
Totally.
Scream, cry.
Totally. And so, and that's beautiful and amazing, but it's just like honoring and toning our nervous system, and also getting familiar with what we need when we're in different states. And
I think that, sorry to interrupt, but it like builds on the relationship with our body too, like learning how to hear our body and what our body wants, not what our mind thinks we need. Exactly.
And and also we're going to be offering some tools, like take-home tools as well, like what's a lot of the things you spoke to earlier. But yeah, and I think ultimately, whether you're doing a fast, rigorous breath work or you're doing a slow and steady, you're toning your nervous system, no matter what you're doing there. So the idea with our nervous system is when we start to tone it and we increase our capacity to be with sometimes the uncomfortable feelings of that more rigorous breath work, it's a beautiful thing to practice, because as you practice it, you're increasing your ability to be uncomfortable. And as you increase your ability to be uncomfortable, you can probably maneuver with more grace and groundedness through the difficult waters of the human experience, right? So I kind of got a little off tangent there, but but yeah, so it's like, I think we've talked about how we want to, each time we offer a workshop, we want to kind of focus on something different, whether it's a topic or a style. So yeah, this is going to be a bit more anchored into that, and I think we're going to dive into like a more of a visualization journey to really take you on when you're in that kind of relaxed state to just go on a journey. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
Do you want to share one of your favorite tools?
One of my favorite tools.
So this is a takeaway daily tool that someone could practice.
Honestly, this is kind of something I do typically in the morning and in the evenings, like while I'm still in bed. Hand on heart, hand on belly. 4 breaths in, 4 breaths out. 4 breaths. Like just 4 followed by 4. And slow. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. So just like, because sometimes I'll wake up with anxiety. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting out of bed until I just bring it down a couple pegs here, right? So what's the point in waking up anxious and then just getting into the day? Like, give yourself 4 rounds of breath to just go, okay, I'm here, I feel my body. Because if we're waking up with anxiety, we're already in that. So if you have listened to this episode and you're around in Vancouver this weekend, March 26th, from 3 to 5, we're having our next ceremony at the Garden Strathcona.
All about the nervous system. And you can get your tickets to that through either of our Instagram pages or on my website at clubashram.com, and it will take you to an Eventbrite link. The tickets are limited. We do like to keep our ceremonies intimate and kind of hold that container.
Yeah. So thank you for being here, and I just want to leave you with this last thought: to never underestimate the power of a deep breath in and a calming breath out, to tend to your heart. So be well, friends.
We did it.
We did it.
We did our first episode.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, I need 3 drinks right now. Let's just take a moment. Let's take a moment here.
Yeah.
Because this is hilarious. And that was the first time we did something that we've never done before.
Dude, yeah. Is that still recording? Do you see a blinky right there?
Yeah, I do.
Bye. See you.
Yes.